Welcome to another live stream, guys. After another boring sideways Saturday, we are seeing volatility pick up leading up to the weekly candle close, which has been a common theme the last month or two. To be honest, the bulls are actually looking stronger than they have in a very long time to me, and I'm seeing some potential signs of strength in the market. But I also don't want to get careless because I don't necessarily think that the bulls are totally in the clear quite yet. I want to take a look at a few different time frames for Bitcoin in preparation of our new weekly candle and basically take a look at a few important levels to watch and that sort of thing. So if you guys appreciate these level-headed live streams based purely on price action, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. With that, I'm actually going to start zoomed right in today on the 5-minute chart just to show the most obvious setup for me personally, just in case volatility really ramps up and we get there right away here. This is something I had already mentioned in the Telegram. But basically, based on this structure here, you guys, you can see I marked our low, our lower low, our lower high, and we have broke that. So basically, at that point, rather than FOMOing into a long on the way up here, I'm more so looking for one of those classic STUBER fib pullbacks. So I still have my swing short open from 92,358. I also have this bit of a scalp because, again, just kind of had a feeling that we were going to end up pulling back down towards support of these levels because we lost the micro uptrend, right? The fact that we had this little microstructure here, high, higher, high, confirmed higher, low. We ended up losing that. So I just took a bit of a momentum scalp short, updated stop loss to break even really quickly, but I'm just basically planning on riding this out to the bottom of the range and hopefully further, right? I mean, that's the beauty of it. At this point on both of these positions, I don't have any risk because stop losses are break even, and I have actually taken profits on 30% of the swing position. But yeah, as I mentioned, as far as an obvious setup for me, I mean, this is something that I'm planning to take, even though I'm in a couple of short positions already. I do want to cover myself as far as an insurance play more than anything, but looking at some sort of a hedge here. And like I said, just on the 5-minute with the way this structure is, basically, I would be expecting a pullback. And if we end up finding support, I would basically expect it to come in between 88.6 thousand and 87,000 US dollars. If we drop below 87,000, that invalidates my 115 fib. And at that point, I would basically just want my shorts to continue running and cut the losses on that long position if that's what happens. But guys, of course, those of you who are interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at the market structure, how I'm pulling fibs, just like what I just laid out, some of my trade setup ideas, favorite trade strategies, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code, which I will bring on the screen here. Be sure to scan that QR code on the screen and sign up under me on BloFin, a no KYC exchange. I've been trading on there for well over a year now. I've never had any issues or anything like that. And this will get you special promos from my partners there in the future, as well as access to my free VIP Telegram channel where I'm sharing these ideas on the market, you guys. So yeah, that being said, like I said, just as far as something that could be happening right away, like I said, I am planning on laddering into a position here, basically entering just above my 786, 886, 1, and 115 fib, just front running them all a little bit. My average entry would be somewhere just above my 1, between my 1 and my 886, basically. But it's really starting to look like we're going to get that any minute here. Might start filling some orders here. So sorry, just bear with me. I'm just going to make sure that I have some orders set here because I didn't expect it to happen this fast, but it's looking like we're going to get something here. So this is just a nice live example for you guys of me taking a STUBER fib setup. 88, 588. Yeah. So basically, yeah, looking at taking a bit of a hedge, like I said, more than an insurance play than anything, basically, if we get some sort of a bounce here. Because like I said, I mean, as the title says, as weak as we look right now, there is some signs of strength on the 4-hour. Now, to be clear, as I said, I don't think the bulls are totally in the clear. I still see signs why we could end up pulling back further. But when I say signs of strength, I mean more the longer term here. And the reason why I say that is just because we did actually end up taking out that lower high on the trend. The fact that we had this low, lower low, lower high here, the fact that we did break above it, although it was very temporary and we never ended up, staircasing higher, forming more of a just an ongoing trend to the upside. It's still very possible that we did still break that level. So even if we end up pulling back to a STUBER fib, for example, on the other side from a bigger scale, something like this, that would absolutely be a possibility at this point. And again, I would be looking at hedging some sort of a long in that case. But so far, I am still happy that I ended up sticking to my position and holding 70% of my short position from here, which was obviously, those of you guys who have been here in my recent streams know that I was basically looking at something like this, looking at a bearish STUBER fib setup, and just kind of laddering into my entries as we got into my resistance fibs, basically. So until that trend actually breaks, because let's face it, eventually that downtrend is going to break. And that's why I'm willing to get into those hedged long positions, even though I have been more macro bearish, you guys know, recently, just because the downtrend has been playing out so beautifully and it has been fairly easy to trade. So the fact that we've been in this downtrend for about 8 weeks now, and it has been playing out just beautifully, I really don't want to fight that trend all too much. Like, although, I want to prepare for just in case we do end up breaking out. You guys know that I'm still more so interested in favoring the bearish side of things, just because until we really confidently break this downtrend like this, sure, we got very briefly above that lower high, but the fact that we never broke the 115 still makes me think that, this could go either way from here. So I just want to be protected from all sides, basically. Looking at the weekly chart, I mean, this is the chart. This is one of those times where the further I zoom out, the more bearish I get. And this is something that I've been showing for the last several weeks as well, you guys, is just how similar this market structure looks compared to last cycle when we formed our top. Just the fact that we lost our horizontal micro trend, then we lost our diagonal trend. We got a bounce right off the 886, just like we're doing here. The RSI, when we tested that 886, was basically at an identical level, just everything, how it lined up on the 4-year cycle when we started breaking market structure on the weekly chart after about 152 weeks from bear market bottom to bull market peak. There's just so many similarities happening in the chart that part of me thinks that there's no way they would make it that easy, and that there's no way that we are going to get the exact same chart to play out. But it's, at least at this point, it's a very realistic reason to have, your back up against the wall a little bit and just kind of playing cautiously and just not getting married to the idea that we have to go see all-time highs sometime soon. I'm not saying that we can't. That's the thing, guys, right? On the 4-hour chart, let's just say we do start to see this recovery tonight and tomorrow, where we end up just starting to staircase higher. Then that's fantastic. At that point, we have the market structure backing up that theory, at least. But so far, whenever I see people calling that the bottom is in, and all that hopium that you see on social media, it's always based around nothing or gut feelings or just the fact that the price has been bouncing for a few hours. But as far as the actual market structure, this is the most strength I've seen in the last 8 weeks, just the fact that we actually took out this level. But again, we never confidently broke it. We never took out the 115. We haven't started staircasing higher yet or anything. Probably the strongest case that I can make for the bulls right now is with the MDX Trend Master Indicator. The fact that we have printed, basically at this point, a higher buy signal, as well we have a higher sell signal. So this indicator is starting to print signals trending to the upside. It does look like we're just kind of chopping around sideways, so we'll see. But you know what, that is at least one big point for the bulls, I'm gonna say. The fact that those are trending to the upside, that is a bit of a bullish warning, in my opinion. So we'll have to see. We are still facing resistance from this sell signal. You can see that we have this blue dotted line up here. That's exactly where we're facing resistance so far. But again, the fact that it's a higher sell signal, I'm not sure if it's going to hold or not. So yeah, like I said, not all hope is lost. There is some signs of strength, but I just don't want to get completely blindsided by FOMO at this point, just because it's the most strength we've seen in a while. Just because it is a decent amount of strength doesn't mean that, it's just bull market on and we're going parabolic from here. I think the bulls have a lot of proving themselves to do at this point. So getting very close to my 786. So yeah, again, guys, this is nothing crazy. It's actually beautiful how quickly it is playing out here. But this is just a typical STUBER fib setup, right? The fact that we had this low, lower low, our lower high, the lower high got broken. And that's where, I look at the same kind of structure on the weekly chart or the 4-hourly chart, and people think that those moves can't happen. But on the 5-minute, they'll be very willing to accept those moves, right? But for me, market structure is the same. So I understand that even though I'm looking at trading the 5-minute like this, for example, I know not everybody wants to be microanalyzing the 5-minute chart. However, the way that I look at market structure and the way I pull fibs and everything, I mean, I treat all time frames the same. It doesn't matter if it's the 1-minute, the 5-minute, the 1 hour, 4-hour, daily, weekly. I treat it all the same because market structure is market structure. It just plays out a lot faster on a shorter time frame like this. So this is just a typical setup that we're looking for. You know what? It could end up taking a loss. Like I said, if we end up just absolutely melting through that support, then my couple of shorts are going to continue running anyways. But I think it's at least quite possible that we end up seeing some sort of a bounce here. As far as a bullish setup, that checks my boxes. That is a typical STUBER fib setup there. One thing that actually pointed this out to me as well was I was looking just before streaming at the MDX ALGO master indicator and just bringing that up for a little bit of confluence, and it actually printed out the exact same fibs. You can see they're overlapping mine. I'm just going to delete these here real quick. But yeah, you can see that basically I always like indicators to match up with my analysis. I like to use them as confluence, not necessarily on their own. But the fact that I do agree with this fib pull just based on the market structure, and this indicator is pulling the same fibs automatically like this, that's great confluence to have. So that's just another reason why I'm willing to take a stab at this as far as an insurance play, hedge long, or just a long in general, however you want to look at it. Or obviously you do what works for you. This is not financial advice, but this is my personal trade strategy that I love trading these STUBER fibs. Those of you guys in my Telegram chat know exactly why I'm taking a trade setup based like this. Just another typical setup. And that's the thing with trading. It's not that you have to win every single trade setup. It's that you need to also have your losses be controlled. You need to have some sort of a systematic trade setup that you can repeat over and over. Because if you can't stay consistent, it's going to be very hard to stay consistent with gains in trading, basically. With the MDX ALGO long short ratio indicator, you can see that basically, well, at this point, we're just kind of going sideways a little bit. I want to zoom into the 1 hour here, see what retail is doing as far as longs and shorts. You can see it basically looks like longs are just starting to climb a little bit again, and we are dumping aggressively. So that is a little bit concerning there, but we'll have to see. That's really micro analyzing that. In reality, that indicator is barely moving at this point. Retail is still significantly long, right? I mean, 66% long for retail. So as long as retail longs are in control, that is basically fuel for the fire for more downside. So the best thing that we could see from a bullish perspective right now would be to see the retail shorts shoot up to the upside. If retail starts shorting aggressively, thinking that this is a sucker's rally, that would be fuel for the rocket ship to push us a little bit higher. So yeah, so that's just something to watch for there. There we go. Yeah, getting very close to the 786 there. Bitcoin dominance. This one is something that I pointed out. I try to point it out at least once a week, but last week I pointed this out as well. The fact that we got a lower sell signal on the daily time frame on the MDX Trendmaster. That is a warning. That's the first time we've seen a lower sell in quite some time. So that is a big reversal warning on my radar. And if this does end up just pushing the Bitcoin dominance to the downside and absolutely nuking it off this cliff, that would be a very good sign for the altcoins, in my opinion. even at this point, just the way that Bitcoin has been respecting some support and, broke that temporary lower high and stuff like that, there's some good signs that, altcoins may be worth watching a little more aggressively now, just because of what phase we're at in the market cycle. If we are going to go parabolic, if the bulls are going to come in full force, I would expect that altcoins actually react much more aggressively to support levels than Bitcoin does at this point, just because we are getting later into the cycle. But this would be a great sign for that. If we could end up seeing this start getting rejected and rolling over to the downside, that would be so good for altcoins. Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing. How you feeling about the markets? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Honestly, I have a little bit of mixed feelings right now. I'm still favoring the downside until the downtrend really gets confidently smashed. But, I'll give credit where credit is due. There's the odd sign of strength out there. Can I go have a look at Solana? I can go take a look at Solana. Yes. So this is one of those things where Solana, obviously same thing, right? It ended up getting above the lower high very slightly. Still, again, not a confident smash. Never invalidated the 115 because that would be the top of my red box here. Never quite invalidated that. Still respected the swing fail setup there. So I have mixed feelings on this one, just like Bitcoin, right? This is the biggest sign of strength that we've seen in a long time because we did end up taking out this level. But again, we just never ended up staircasing higher, setting a higher high after that. It is just wicks above into that swing fail territory, never invalidated the 115. So mixed feelings about that. We obviously came down, tested the 786 pretty much perfectly, but that setup has technically played out already. Right? The fact that we ended up hitting that 0.5 fib already, there's your first target. So technically that move has already played out. One thing, this would be very similar to the one that I was just pointing out on Bitcoin. This is just on the 4 hour rather than the 5 minute, but it's the exact same structure where we have a low, lower low, and this would have been our confirmed lower high on just on the micro trend basically of the 4 hour here. And the fact that we got this high, just like how I have Bitcoin's fib pulled, would be something like this basically. And you can see we already got very close to that 786. If we zoom in, you could basically say that hit the 786. I don't have enough confidence in the bulls yet to be swinging at every long I see. Being that I'm already opening up that hedge on Bitcoin, I don't really want to take any more on altcoins until I see some actual strength coming through. But yeah, if you were playing this instead of Bitcoin, for example, it's getting very close to the 786. Basically, I would expect support anywhere from $129.50 down to basically invalidation would be below $126 for me. Just leaving a little bit of wiggle room basically below my 115 for that kind of a bullish setup basically. But yeah, guys, I actually just really wanted to do a very quick market update. Just like I said before the weekly candle closes, just a few things on my radar to watch for. As far as the weekly chart goes here, again, we did test that 886 back here last cycle as well. And yeah, although it ended up giving us support and we chopped around sideways for a couple months there, it was just kind of the beginning of a bigger push to the downside. So I still strongly believe that that is the case currently. I think that the 4-year trend is still intact. I think that we are starting a much more serious bearish trend overall. But that doesn't mean those bounces can't happen. And also that's why we have invalidations. We start staircasing higher and we start forming bullish structure. That theory goes out the window, right? We need to react to how the charts actually present themselves, because at the end of the day, as actual traders, I mean, we want to be trading the charts that are actually on the screen in front of us rather than trading charts that we hope are there in a few weeks' time. So as it stands right now, there's a lot of similarities here. And even on the shorter time frames, like the 4 hour, there's just a big concern about a continued downtrend. So like I said, I just can't get blinded by FOMO yet. I'm seeing signs of strength from both sides, honestly. And that's why, like I said, I am willing to take a hedge long if we hit my preferred basically my preferred support levels to ladder into a trade, I'm totally willing to take that. But I'm very happy to still have my positions from up above running because I just don't have a ton of faith in the bulls at this time, you guys. On Ethereum, nearing support 29.55. I can check that. So I assume you would be looking at something very similar to what I just said with Bitcoin. And well, you can see I have the same line mapped out too with Bitcoin and Solana. So we have something like that. So in that case, I would be pulling a fib, something like this basically. And yeah, that support, yeah, is that what you said? 29.55. So yeah, exactly, right? I have support here basically from 29.57 down to 28.65 basically. And after that, that would invalidate the 115. The problem that I have with setups like that is that if that fib gets invalidated, then technically we just have a bigger swing that's nearby as well. So basically, if we end up losing this smaller swing support, then I assume that we would be going down to test the support of the entire range kind of a thing. But we'll have to see how, obviously, one thing at a time. So far at this point, especially if I zoom into the 5-minute, looks very similar to Bitcoin and Solana, right? We just have that nice little push and we are basically going straight back down to retest support. Although Solana's holding up better, right? It's not near as close to the 786 as Bitcoin and Solana was, for example, but still looking very similar price action there, you guys. So yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So one last time, if you appreciate these live streams, please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And just a reminder for those of you who may be interested in learning and seeing more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, how I use Fibonacci's and market structure, just give more of my thoughts on the market in general. Do yourselves a favor, get in my Telegram by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description down below. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for being here once again. Peace out.